So this week, no matter where I went, it seemed like the rain just wanted to follow me everywhere, and I didn't get a chance to skate much because of that. So for this week's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different and set up a new pair of skates. Well, at least they're new to me. And I got to take a second to thank my friend Matt for hooking me up with his old gray 909s that still have a ton of life left in them. Gave me those and his Sola frames for a price that I just couldn't turn down. So we're going to get these set up as sort of an ultimate part killer setup. And along the way, I'm going to show you guys some tips and tricks I've picked up over the years, some products I use when I'm setting up my skates that help me skate better and longer. Now, as you guys can see, these are previously owned and skated, so they've got some scuff marks, and the cuffs are set up low. I like to ride them high. So we're going to start by just tearing these things down. And for those of you guys who've never torn skates apart, unless you're going to take buckles off, all you're going to need is a good 4mm Allen wrench, possibly 2 depending on your frames. But you want to make sure you have nice, sharp, new Allen keys when you start tearing into skates. Now, I bought new sole plates for these skates, so I've got a full set of new sole hardware. But if you're going to be reusing any parts, reusing hardware, it is always good to have a little cup that you can throw all your hardware in and keep track of everything. Just like these cuff bolts, I'm going to be reusing these cuff bolts, so I'm going to need to keep those in a safe place. They're not going to wander off if they're inside this little cup. All right, so we've got these boots completely stripped down, but I want to clean them up a little bit so they feel new to me when I skate them the first time. And that's where this first product comes in, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Now, I have tried a bunch of things from, Scotch-Brite pad and water to WD-40 and a rag, and nothing works as well, as quickly, and as easily. You can pick these things up for about $5 to $10 depending on how many you buy in a pack. Just use a little bit of water, a little bit of elbow grease, and they'll have them shined up in absolutely no time. Now, they do make a bit of a mess just with the water, and these things start to fall apart as you use them. So you may want to put down a rag while you're doing it, or put a strainer in your sink if you're doing it over your sink. But this is still the best thing I have found for cleaning boots off. Now, another thing I like to do is I like to ride 6-ball bearings, specifically Bones big balls, but any 6-ball bearing. I just find that they roll smoother and faster, specifically for aggressive skating. Now, even when I can't find those bearings that I specifically like to ride, I still like to ride bearings with removable shields because I find that they have less of a break-in time, plus you can open them up, clean them out, re-lube them, reuse them, and that saves you money and it creates less waste. Now, all you need to clean bearings is first you need bearings with removable shield. You're going to need a razor blade. You can pick these up for just a couple of bucks. You can get a whole pack of razor blades. It'll last you a lifetime at the local corner store. And at the very least, you're going to want some sort of bearing specific lube. Don't use WD-40 or anything like that. It'll ruin your bearings. Get some sort of bearing lube. This Bone Speed Cream you can pick up for like $8 at any local skate shop. And if you want to take it to the next level and properly clean your bearings before you re-lube them and not just wipe them off with a paper towel and throw a lube in, which that works, but if you really want to go the distance and really clean them up, then you need to pick up some isopropyl alcohol. Pick this up anywhere for like less than $5 at any Walgreens, CVS, any sort of pharmacy. They should have it. I know it's a little hard to find right now with the COVID pandemic, but it seems to be back in stock these days. All right, to start out, to open them up, you just take your razor blade, slide it in under the shield, and then it pops straight off. Now, you're going to want to take a paper towel or a rag or something and just knock off the big debris just to get it started here. But if you really want to clean them up, grab some sort of sealable container, throw your bearing in, grab your isopropyl alcohol, let it soak in there for a little while, maybe shake it up a little bit, agitate it, give them a spin while they're covered in alcohol, and then drop them back in, let them soak for a while. Then after you've let them soak for a while and they're spinning nice and smooth again, you just really need to let them sit out and air dry and get completely dry before you add any lube. Now, you can use like compressed air cans, those keyboard cleaner things to try to speed up the process, but you really want to make sure all of that alcohol evaporates out of the bearing before you start adding lube back in and sealing this thing back up. All right, then your final step, take your speed cream or whatever bearing lube of your choice, add 1 to 2 drops, then your seal goes back on, just presses right back in there. You'll feel it snap in, give it a spin, make sure she's good to go, and reinstall back in your wheel. So now we've got clean boots, we've got clean bearings. We're just about ready to start throwing these things back together, but before we do, we're going to grab one product that every skater should have in their bag at all times. We're talking about golf wax. Now, if you don't know golf wax, you should. It is the best thing for waxing rails, especially in moderate climates and in the winter. I know when it gets hot in the summer, this stuff gets disgusting. You may need to mix it with something. If you do a little research, there's tons of wax formulas out there that you can mix together at home. Otherwise, you know, buy your favorite wax brand, whatever. But for this, we're going to be using golf wax. So what are we going to use this for? Well, I, like most, hate noisy skates, so we are going to wax our cuffs. Yes, I'm talking to you, everyone who skates razors, wax your cuffs. Just take a little bit of wax, rub it around where the cuff moves, and on the inside of the cuff here. And now we're ready to throw these boots back together, and when we do it, we are going to use blue thread locker. I use the Loctite brand, any generic brand will work, but you want the removable type of thread locker. Now I know a lot of skaters like to complain and say, you know, you shouldn't have to use this stuff and bolts shouldn't back out on their own and it should come from the factory perfect the way it is, but every skate that I have ever bought comes with a manual that says to do a bolt check every time you skate. And well, if you're not gonna do that, go ahead and pick this stuff up. It costs you $4. It'll last you forever, and your bolts will have a lot harder time backing out. Now I'm going to start by reinstalling the cuffs here as we build these back up. And all you're going to do, make sure your threads are clean before you put them back in. That's another big thing. If you don't want to strip your bolts, make sure your threads are clean before you thread them back in. Take your blue thread locker, just apply one little dot. That's all you need. And now we'll just install it like normal. And with it, there's no need to over tighten. You just snug them up. And then we're going to make sure that we give it time to cure. You want to let this stuff cure for 24 hours before you go out and really skate these. All right, there we go. Sole plate's all done, cuffs done. Going to throw the wheels and frames on, nothing special there, and then we'll move on. All right, so we are getting close. These things are coming together very nicely, but I'm an old man and I like comfort, plus I cannot stand when my feet move around on my skate. So a lot of skates will come with a plastic insole like this. We are going to ditch that in favor of some very cheap store brand insoles. These things cost like $2. You can find them at any pharmacy. And although there are better options out there, I know people swear by Superfeet, but they cost a lot of money. And if you're trying to save money, those will do just fine. $2, tons of comfort, and it keeps your liners from moving around in the bottoms of your skates. But before I throw these out and forget about them, we're going to use this to trace the inside of our boot, and then we'll cut this out, and it should fit perfectly inside the boot. Now, like I mentioned, I hate having my foot move around on my skate, whether it's forward and backward, side to side, or, you know, up and down with heel lift. And a big part of that is making sure you have good laces that stay tight. And I highly recommend going to like Dick's Sporting Goods or some sporting goods store that has hockey laces and getting waxed hockey laces. These are not waxed, but I have these laying around, so I'm going to use these. But I typically use wax laces because they tend to stay tighter better. And the last thing I want while I'm skating is my laces coming loose. Now when it comes to preventing heel lift, a lot of manufacturers will put a 45-degree strap on their skates. I've actually seen people install aftermarket 45-degree straps on 909s and 908s. I, however, don't like the look of that, and there is a way you can lace your skates that will help prevent heel lift. Now I don't know if it was a happy accident or if they were designed to do this, but the 909 is actually perfect for this technique with these top two eyelets. Now there are graphs and things online if you need to look that up. But all you really need to do is when you get to the last two eyelets, make sure your lace goes up through the first one, down through the second. We're going to leave a little bit of room there and an open loop. Same thing on the other side. And then we're going to take the ends and cross through the opposite loop. And then you pull them tight, kind of back and forth like that. They'll tighten up and it'll work just as well as a 45-degree strap, and honestly I think it holds better than a 45-degree strap. I just started trying this a couple months ago and I swear by it now. Highly recommend doing this. And the final thing I use to prevent unwanted movement in my skates is shoe goo. You can pick this stuff up for under $10 at like a hobby store, or I picked this stuff up at Home Depot. And in my case, I used it on the back of my Intuition liners. Now some of the other models like the V1 and all the Them skates version specifically, they have little silicone dots on the back, but the V2s didn't come with that, and I got a bunch of lift and also a bunch of noise from the back of the liners rubbing. So I just threw a patch of shoe goo on it. Sure, I did it ugly, it's hideous, but it's down in the boot, no one ever sees it. If you want to, you can take your time and do the little dots, make it look nice, but totally unnecessary, function over form in this case. But once I got it on there, it really helped with the heel lift. I also threw a patch underneath my forefoot. It keeps my foot from sliding forward. You can do it underneath insoles, anything like that that you want to stop movement. This shoe goo will go a long way and help a ton with stopping movement inside of your skate with your liner. All right, so we got these things fully set up and I'm super happy with how these turned out. And there's one final thing. It's really just something else you should keep in your skate bag, because there's nothing worse than having your day ruined by a simple fall. Now, you guys know I always wear a helmet. I would recommend that everybody wears a helmet, but I understand it's a personal choice. If you don't want to wear one, that's your decision. But something everybody should keep on them, something I will not skate without: shin guards. We've all been there. Take that stupid fall, take a ledge or a rail to the shin, and completely end your day, and it's the worst. I've tried multiple different shin guard options. I've done the G-form, knee shin, I've tried Inui shin guards, and at the end of the day, I keep coming back to just some cheap soccer shins from your local sporting goods store. I think I got these for like $12 or $13. They've lasted me multiple years, and they have saved me a number of times. Highly recommend picking up some cheap shin guards. Keep you from being out for like 4 weeks over some dumb fall that should have never happened. All right, that's gonna do it for this week. I can't wait to skate these things, but gonna need to let all this Loctite set 24 hours. So for those of you who stuck around, gonna leave you guys with some clips from the not so secret spot that I skated last night, but should be headed to Raleigh next week. Hoping to skate Marsh Creek Skate Park out there if the rain holds off. It's not looking good now, but maybe that'll change. But until then, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, goodbye.